The grand hall smell of roses and silent regret. You walk slowly down the Arvin Ashley, your wedding gown trailed behind you like a small camera flash. Eyes followed whispered. Flasher hollow, you saw him, dressed in crepe suit, standing at his eyes. Didn't meet yours, not so. The ceremony moved like a cloud out muddy floors cold. His fingers slid the ring into her without hesitation but warmth. You did the same, no hopes were exchanged beyond what was required. The crown of flowers politely and in fear of the war that burned your skin. You hadn't married him for revenge. A careful laid plan to hurt the son of the man who renewed your family, but not standing at the post-ceremony reception. Stay by the window, a glass of under champagne in his hand. You observe him from far, expecting arrogance, expecting games, chaps. Later, when the guests were gone and the night crept in, the two of you entered the mansion alone. He running down the long corridor with a measured step. The sun is beating you, almost suffocating. Finally, his step. Stop at the door. This is your room, he said. Open it without looking at you. You step inside. It was unusually elegant, yet cool, much like you are not staying here. Shua's voice calm but sharp. We may be legal bound, but that's where the Indians go running. Already, Mrs. Kim, his eyes met yours. That the dog, unreadable, I'm not reading, I'm surviving. He turned to walk away, leaving alone in the silence. As he stood near the window, removing her earring by one, my maid knocked softly and entered. She helped unless you dress in the silence until she finally said almost like a whisper, he hasn't spoken to anyone properly since his mother died 3 years ago. You hadn't known that your revenge was enemy to the master, but the man you married wasn't fire, he was ash. And for the first time since you put on the dress, you wasn't sure if you were the one holding the weapon or if you were admitted someone already broken. The convention was west to west, each hallway in which footstep felt hello like no one truly lived inside it. It was the second week of her marriage, not a word had exchanged. Beyond formality, you ate your meals alone. You step out of your room, the silence pressed on your ear. The house slept, or pretend to. You were held into the kitchen, barefoot, wrapping in the silent room. When you heard something soft like a shuffle, then you saw him. Sitting on the floor near the far end of the hallway, his head resting back against the wall, like drawing up, he looked up of the place like a man misted in the time. You were stunned. What you doing? He didn't flinch, didn't react immediately, just looked up at you through those tired eyes. The moonlight brushed over his face to high window. Sometimes I forget to sleep, he murmured. You fold your arms, or maybe you are just dreaming from nightmare. He didn't deny it, just try to go. Whatever you feel like, I intend long ago you walk close and don't know why. Maybe it, curiosity, maybe pity, or maybe just wanted to hurt him. You should feel guilty, you said softly and sharp. Your family destroyed mine. This time he looked up. You properly eyes still void of emotion. I know you blinked. There is no point in denying pain, he said, eyes dropping on the floor. Your or mine? A long silence filled the hallway. You wanted to yell at him, to demand range, arrogance, something, but there is a sad still. Do you do this every night? You asked, voice quieter now. He nodded slightly. Some nights it's the stair, other the hallway. The one felt less lonely. You stood there watching him for a moment longer before turning away and heading back to your room, but your steps were slower now, heavy, confused. As you lay in the bed, you couldn't shake the image of him sitting alone in the dimly hallway, not like an enemy, but like a boy who was never taught how to lean. The morning sun rose, but the air inside the mansion stayed cold. You needed air, not from the grand room, suffocating silence, but something real. So you wandered past the marble sun staircase, past the endless corridor you hadn't explored it before. The iron gate cracked open, and the first time that greeted you wasn't the flower, but stillness, untouched, forgotten as the garden itself. Green weeds tangled between the path, vines covered branches, a statue of. And then you saw him kneeling before a small elegant grave, tucking breathe on old willow tree. His head was below his finger brush. You froze, he didn't know you were there. His voice fragile carried through the morning air. I'm sorry, I still don't know how to fix anything. I tried, but I renew everything I touched. You clutched the stone wall beside you, breath catch in your chest. They all think I am heartless now. Maybe I am, but I remember how you smiled at me even when I yelled. You were the only one. A pause, softer, bravely audible. She hated me too, but I don't blame her. Maybe she should. You step back before he noticed, quietly turned and slipped away. Image of him so gentle, so broken, burning into your thought. That night you stood eat dinner. You just sat by your bedroom window, trying to gather the stone inside you. A knock came. You didn't answer.